Father. I've set this up for you. Hopefully this will work well. This is going to be a basic introduction to using Photoshop in order to produce illustrations. So let's go ahead and, we've got a raw canvas here. You're already familiar with how to build one of these yourself. Just in case if that's not clear, you go to File, and then you go to New, and then you click OK. You can set all kinds of different parameters for how large you want the image to be, what resolution you want it to be, so on and so forth. For resolution, for whenever you're drawing, you want this to be somewhere fairly high. 72 resolution is far too low. Remember to set that to something like 300, just so that everything that you draw will be in fairly high quality. So, let's see. Click OK there. And so here we are in our canvas. You have your sort of layout right here. You already remember me telling you a bunch about your layers, your history, and this is the navigator. You can use this to zoom into whatever you're drawing. Over here on the left, you have your brushes. This is the brush tool here. You've got an eraser tool here. Alternatively, the rear part of your drawing implement can also be used to erase lines. I have your Cintiq set up with several things in mind to help you get through this. Your Cintiq on the left-hand side is going to have a slider which will control your zoom, I believe. Let's double check that, 'cause I'm pretty sure I have yours set up just like mine. Oh, I'm sorry. The left slider is for your brush size, which you can see oscillating on the screen in front of us here on the white. I believe that it's the right slider, so over here, which zooms and unzooms whatever we're working on. Very handy. On your pen, we have two buttons. There's the forefront here, closest to the tip. We have that set to the eyedropper tool, which can be used to sort of draw from a palette. So, if we were to create a series of colors on the left-hand side here to draw off of, we can use the front button on your pen. When your pen is near the canvas here, you hold that button down, and then you click the eyedropper tool, and you can actually drag it anywhere you want. Whatever's in the upper area there, you will pull in as your active color. Your active color is always displayed down here in the lower left-hand corner. As you can see right now, my primary color is red. My secondary color, which you don't really need to worry too much about, is also red. You can click this little black and white thing in the corner here in order to set that back to black and white, which is the default, of course. And like I said, front button here allows you to select anything you want from the palette. Alternatively, if you had a giant image and you wanted to duplicate a color, whereas in a traditional medium you'd have to spend half an hour drawing out various types of paint in order to match that color. Mom's better at that than I've ever been. Personally, I like painting wet because mixing colors is a pain in the ass, and if I can't match a color, I just sort of draw from whatever colors are nearby. You, on the other hand, working digitally, can just pull colors from literally any pixel in the entire composition that you want. So yeah, that's what this button does. Button on the back here undoes any of the actions that you've taken. So that's not like, undoing selections that you've made, but rather like actual paint that you've applied to the canvas, modifications that you've made to the you know, the actual canvas itself, the image. So this back button here is basically like an oops button. It's an undo button. Every time that I click that, it will take away whatever my most recent actions are. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. Each one done in one stroke. So I can get rid of 3, and 2, and 1, each time with a click of this button. Now, of course, your pen will only receive instructions from you if it's up next to the canvas. If I tap this button here when I'm nowhere near the actual Cintiq, it won't register the command. There's actually no electronics in this device whatsoever. I mean, there's a little bit of electronics, but there's no frequency emitting from this device besides what's, you know, in order to receive signal from your pen, it has to be near the Cintiq. I don't actually know exactly why it works. It's something having to do with radio frequency. I guess the pen emits some sort of I don't know, an interference field, which you selectively activate or deactivate certain types of interference fields, which are then registered by the Cintiq. I should have set that to silent before I started recording this. That was my phone telling me it's time to go to sleep. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I gotta do that after this, but whatever. Anyway, that is what your rear button does here. Very, very handy to have just at the tip of your finger whenever you make a stroke that you just didn't like. Just make sure that when you push that button, you do it when your pen is relatively near to the canvas. Looking at it right here, and I think that the general threshold of distance that you want to keep your pen at all times when doing things is at least within an inch away from the surface of the Cintiq. So you can have it a little bit far away, where you can actually see your icon, but not close enough that you're actually doing things, and then you can, you know, press that back button in order to undo. Like I said before, the back end of your pen is an eraser, which you can use. It has a separate brush size, as you see here, which we also can control independently using the slider on your Cintiq, which I set up for you. So I'm going to have mine at about here, and I'm going to erase, and that looks pretty nice. You can increase the size of that in order to erase larger portions, and it's handy. You also have a bunch of other options here on the left and the right that I set up on yours. If I recall correctly, let's see. The large button on the left here, I wish I had a diagram I could show you. Here, actually, I can give you a diagram because I set up a whiteboard here. So here is what your layout on the left of your Cintiq looks like. You've got your slider here. You've got a button on top here. You've got another long button on the left here. And you've got another wide button on the bottom. And then this side is actually split into two smaller buttons. And there we have it. You've got 3 dots here for frame of reference. And I believe this one also should have 3 dots on yours. So, as we said before, this slider here gives you brush control, brush size control. So, here we are back here. Up will increase the size of your brush, and down will decrease the size of your brush. So that's that. This button right here will control your movement of the canvas itself. So you can actually... Oops. Sorry. This layer is locked. Well, we'll get to that later, but basically you can see that this is a little arrow it was a little mouse cursor with a series of tiny little arrows, each one pointing in the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. This basically gives you the opportunity to grab onto a layer element. So let's say that you drew, a picture of a woman, standing right here, and you wanted to move her to over here, right? You would basically select that element, hold down onto this button here, and then you would, click that and then drag that. We'll get to that in another tutorial. Right now I'm just showing you what the buttons do. This button here, the lower button on your array, that one, if you're in Photoshop, is another way of doing the eyedropper. So you probably won't use that too much since you already have that at the front of your thing. Then on the right here, this guy, I actually forget what I set that to do, but nevertheless this is important, so let's find out. So that button, if I click it, appears to allow me to draw in straight lines. That's weird. Huh. Kooky. Yeah, I guess it's like a straight edge tool. Yeah, so if you hold that, you can click individual vector points throughout your map, and the thing will draw to it. This might be interesting if you're doing some sort of, I don't know, like an environment or something. I guess you could use that in order to, create like a vanishing point and a series of perspective lines. Or if you wanted to do something like a bunch of, I don't know, shelves and books, or, I don't know, whatever. Straight lines. So that's that button. Then we've got this button here at the top, which if I hold that, that is a funky little feature that actually changes the calibration of your Cintiq to control either a one-to-one movement on the Cintiq itself. So wherever the tip of your pen touches on the Cintiq surface, that's where you will touch, that's where you'll draw your lines. If you push that button at the top, it actually allows you to control the entire breadth of all of your monitor arrays using just the Cintiq. So if I push that button, it will actually switch me to my other monitor, which you can't see, but in your instance it would be either the monitor on your desktop or your television on the other side of the room. So basically, like, if I put my hand all the way here onto the left, it will bring a little mouse cursor up on the monitor elsewhere, your second monitor, rather than on the Cintiq itself. It might be handy to you if you're using a second monitor. Frankly, if you're using stuff on a second monitor, like let's say you have reference photos on the other monitor, or you're pulling stuff up on Google, or you're just playing music and stuff, just use your mouse. It's cool that the Cintiq has that feature, but, like, whatever, just use your mouse, because your mouse can go to both monitors independently anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and push that button back on the Cintiq. The bottom button right here, that one, I also forget what I assigned it to, so let's find out. Yes. So this has that little hand feature. So that hand that you see there actually will allow me to move the canvas itself. So whereas this button, the longer button on the left, go ahead and draw a little bit on it so you know what I'm talking about. That button allows you to move individual image elements on the canvas. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly create a layer, even though that's not part of this tutorial. So we have an extra layer here. I'm going to make another color so that you can distinguish what we're doing. So we've got this green line thing here. It's on a separate layer, so we know that we can interact with it independently of whatever's on the bottom layer. So bottom layer, top layer. I'm going to select this layer here, and using that long button on the side, I can actually move this green thing anywhere that I want on top of the background. It's like a bunch of celluloid, animation cells stacked on top of each other, and we can interact with them independently of one another. Very handy. However, this bottom button that I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and tack that on here. This one right here, if we hold that, we can actually move the entire canvas itself. Why isn't it working? I thought that's what that button did. Is it because this is locked? Oh, it's because we're zoomed all the way out. I'm sorry. That's handy if you're zoomed all the way in. We'll get to the on-screen interface stuff later, but let's say that we're zoomed in. Oh, I know. Perfect example. All the way on the other side of your Cintiq, right? You've got this same sort of situation, right? Except it's backwards. So your slider is on the right over here. If you recall, that slider, not here on the left, but all the way over here on the right, if you move that up and down, it'll allow you to zoom in and out of the canvas. So if I go over here, and I do this, so I'm back on the canvas over here, right? If I move the slider on the right, we can zoom in, and when we're zoomed in, that's when you use this button on the bottom on the left. So if we're zoomed in and we're doing details on our piece, like way up close, we can use this button in order to manipulate the canvas and push and pull it in a bunch of different directions, as you can see. So whereas normally drawing on the canvas like this on the Cintiq, just moving my thing around, we'll draw things instead. If you are zoomed in and you hold on to that button, instead when you touch the canvas, it moves it in a bunch of different directions, which is pretty cool. There's another way that you can move it, which is up here in your navigator. You can click this box and move it anywhere on the canvas that you want. But I think you'll find that using this button in order to basically touch the paper and slide it across the table will be a lot more intuitive. Anyway, that sums it up for all of the actual, physical box of your Cintiq's, features. All the buttons on the Cintiq itself, as well as your pen. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording this now, and I will see you in the next tutorial where we'll go over the actual workspace of Photoshop.